Marjorie, since you're sitting next to me, if you'd like to go ahead and introduce yourself and what your basic job and duties are at the
Sure.
university.
So I've been at CU Denver since 1999. I did my PhD at the University of Iowa in history, working in both British social history and the history of medicine. So now I am associate professor and chair of the history department. I was the director of women's and gender studies, and I also co-direct minor in health humanities. So I'm really interested in interdisciplinary work. So even though my home is history, I like to branch out across the college and university. And really, as a faculty member, what I am involved with, my job is kind of defined around three things, which are research, teaching, and service. And so my typical day will include one or all three of those things. So I don't teach every day because I'm chair, and being chair means I have a heavy administrative load. Semesters that I wasn't chair, I taught 2 classes a semester, now I teach 1. So I work on my research at least 1 day a week. Mostly right now I'm writing. So it's a combination of writing, preparing classes, grading, doing service work on committees and administration in the department, things like scheduling meetings and scheduling courses, and I like all aspects of my job.
Should we just go down the line then?
Sure. I'm Rakisa Kabari. I got my PhD in math education at UNC in Greeley. In that capacity, I was really trained to teach teachers how to teach. Because it was in mathematics, I primarily work with elementary school teachers. However, I work with middle school and high school teachers as well with professional development activities, and some of them working on their masters, etc. I started here in 2007 as a senior instructor. So I had a little different role than Marjorie had. So I came in and my focus was teaching. So I was teaching 4 classes a semester, so pretty much every day of the week I was teaching or preparing classes. And then recently I received a promotion to assistant professor in clinical track, which still is the focus area of teaching, but I now get paid for the service that I was doing for free. Yeah, exactly, it was kind of nice. And then I also now have a small research component built into my contract. So. Whereas Marjorie might be doing research once a week, like really focusing in on it. Mine might be once every, like I might have like a few hours a week, simply because I don't have quite as big of a load that I would have to actually complete for my contract. But right now, my focus areas, I developed 3 courses for the math department, for the math courses that the elementary school teachers would have to take in order to be prepared to teach math to elementary school students. So it's a 3-course sequence, and so I'm mostly working with elementary school teachers right now.
Can I just do a clarification for both of us? So it's, as a faculty member, basically your job is defined in terms of effort, which is really a joke in a lot of ways, right? But the contract is divided up in terms of percents of effort around teaching, service, and research. So instructors at UCD and different places have different labels for these things. But instructors at UCD, it's basically 100% teaching. The clinical teaching track are you doing 80% teaching?
80% teaching, 10% service, and 10% research.
Right, and then a tenure track faculty member at UCD, the normal load is 40% research, 40% teaching, and 20% service. So, different places do different kinds of arrangements, but that 40, 40, 20 is pretty standard for a tenure track position.
I have no idea how to put that into the same thing. My name is Melody Brown. I'm a clinical supervisor and licensed marriage and family therapist, master's level, and am in chapter 4 of my dissertation at this point too. So my job is to supervise clinicians in training through School of Ed and the counseling department in their practicum experience. And so what that means is they, and Leslie can attest to this, what that means is they finish their coursework, they come to us, and for the first time get to work with clients and get videoed and watched behind the mirror, and so I'm a part of that, and I also carry a caseload of my own. And outside of that, part of my area of specialty in terms of my job is to be a resource on campus for students who are struggling with substance use or anything around harm reduction on campus. So we're still trying to figure out what exactly that means, because, you know, it's something that you can define along the way. The other part of my job is to be available to participate in things like special admission committees, interviewing students who are trying to come into the program, and pretty much any service that's sort of needed in terms of consulting with folks on campus about students. So we will often have folks call us up and say, can you either come and present and train on something, or I'd like to talk to you, consult with you about a student, and so that's a part of our jobs as well. And we have the percentages broken down, but they are so in the air. And another part of our job too is really just like crisis management with our student body. And so we have walk-in hours. Whenever our clinic is open, someone comes in. And so each of us have on-call hours. So if someone's coming in and I just need to talk, or I feel like I'm just not gonna make it through the day, then okay, let's talk. My other world is I am a faculty member at Denver Family Institute, which is an institute that teaches clinicians in training about systems theory and marriage and family therapy. And along those lines, I do, I've taught there over the last several years, and I do group supervision with them as well. I have a small private supervision practice, and like I said, working on my dissertation, which if anyone would like chapter 4.
We'll pass it along to Katie.
Okay, I'm Katie Schrader, and I have a little bit different role than everybody else up here. I work at the University of Denver, and I'm a staff member. I work in the Office of Institutional Research and Analysis, which most people don't know what that is, but basically what my office does is report out about the university. Like, you know, you've seen probably U.S. News and World Report or other types of publications about universities and what people do, and just different facts about the university. That's what my office in general does. And then specifically within there, I work on course evaluations. So all course evaluations for every course that the university offers goes through me. And then I also do any survey that goes out to the university. It comes through me to make sure it's been cleared, it's not going out at the same time as another survey, things like that. And then I do a little bit of faculty data management for the university in terms of tenure and retention. So, a little bit different role.
So Marjorie, we'll come back to you. How did you decide to go into this field?
That's actually a really hard question. In college, I had no idea what I wanted to do. I went in as a theater bio major, which makes me laugh. The bio part makes me laugh a lot. The theater is still very much there. But I realized, what's so funny about this is I say, at some point I realized trying to be a performer, a singer, this isn't a stable job. I'm gonna go into history, no jobs. But no, and I thought about going into academia, and initially I was an English major, and thinking this is what I wanted to do. I was always really interested in academia, but I realized that what I was interested in the novels that I was reading was the context. Rather than kind of textual analysis, it's like what was going on. How did this text kind of emerge out of its time? So that really brought me to history. And I majored in history, and as I was, probably my junior year was when I started getting serious about school, which I think is the case for a lot of people. And for the first time, I took gender courses in school, and it's unbelievable to people who know me now, but I was like a mouse in college. I never said anything. And all of a sudden I was in these feminist classes and I found my voice. I know that sounds like really stereotypical, but it was so true. And I realized what I wrote this 180-page thesis on 19th century women and medicine. And unbelievably, those are issues that still kind of draw me today. And I teach classes on gender and science and medicine, and my first book was on that. So it really, it became a passion. I mean, I don't know, I always tell people when you're writing a job application or a graduate school application, never use the word passion. Never say, I'm passionate about history. You know, but it's probably true. But everybody says that in their letters, so look for different things to say. So that's kind of how I got into it.
So I was one of those unusual people who in high school said, I've never been to college, but I'm going to teach in college. Don't ask why. It was one of those, I always kind of knew I wanted to teach. My poor brother would have to sit in while I would teach him addition. He was like 4. And he swore that I just liked writing F's on his papers. And there might have been a little bit of that, but I always knew I wanted to teach. I always knew that I had a lot of passion for mathematics. It was fun, it was a game to me, it just felt like a puzzle. So I knew that's, if I was going to teach, that's where it was going to be at. But I literally wrote on a scholarship that I got that I was going to teach college math. And then afterwards I was like, I wonder how many people actually say that in high school. And then I usually do it. So I had never been to college. I was really a first generation student. So I didn't know what to expect. And then when I got into college, I really enjoyed it. I loved the math. I loved everything I was doing. I loved my professors, which continued to inspire me to want to be a teacher. And then I was like, but do I really want to get my PhD? And so I kind of wavered a little bit, and I looked at some other areas, and I was bored in those other areas. I wanted the interaction, I wanted to be with people, and so literally the middle of my senior year, I was like, okay, I guess I'll apply to grad school. And that's what I did, and I had the great opportunity to have a teaching assistantship while I was in grad school, so I was able to kind of really work on teaching and get better at it, and it was a fabulous university to be at for that. And I've never ever thought of leaving. It's like this is where I want to be. I love my students, and I'm really passionate about what's going on with them. And I find students also feel really comfortable coming to me and telling me stuff. So I sometimes find myself acting as a therapist. Not really. But like just being that safe space for them, and I think that's a really powerful thing that a lot of us are able to offer our students, is to be safe space holders when you guys are away from home and have family nearby, or you're just needing some guidance.
Melody, how did you get into this field?
Oh, it's very clear that I am about the most frou-frou of the panel. As evidenced by what I'm about to say now. So I'm the oldest of 3 grew up down south in Louisiana, and probably the oldest girl grandchild on either side of the family, of a huge family. And I grew up, and I think I should call my mom tonight and tell her, I was like, I'm a counselor because you were always on the phone counseling. So I watched her do that, and without knowing, she really influenced me in that way. High school, I was like, I'm going to be in the helping field, and I've got some choices. We're either going to go into medicine, I'm going to figure out a way to do it through art, or I'm going to be a counselor. And the last thing, just like the most natural of the 3. In terms of being in this position now, it's really interesting because I don't. We're recording this, so how do I say this? There are ways in which I see counseling and therapy very differently than other folks do. People who've been in my supervision, I'm not let's all look at the theory. I'm like, okay, what's your gut say? How do I teach you